Difficult people can make life challenging, to say the least, but my next guest believes even the most difficult person can teach us all valuable lessons. So Studio 5 relationship coach Dr. Matt Townsend is here to explain. So now I'm dying over this.
Yeah, don't die.
No, I am.
Okay.
I'm going to die.
Okay.
I'm going to die right now.
Yeah.
You're telling me that I have to put up with some of these difficult people.
Well, I'm telling you.
We all have them.
Well, they're good for you because they're so different to what you're used to, right? They break every rule. They twist everything. They seem to get your goat. They just drive you nuts.
I think you're the only person that would tell me that someone who just drives me nuts is good for me.
But this is the best lessons for you. And so they bring the lessons.
I don't like this.
I know, it's hard, isn't it? Because you want to just not like them and you want to leave them or divorce them or get rid of them. But the deal is you never really divorce bad people or bad relations or bad experiences
like
with
hard
people.
personalities,
you can't get rid of a hard personality. And whatever you learn in one relationship, you can use in another one. So all the skills you're going to learn from the hardest people in your life, you take them with you. And you, by the way, you can use them in a lot of different situations. Like if it's your spouse that you're trying to get rid of because they're such a jerk, you have children from the same person. So there's a lot going on, and the lessons are so obvious and amazing that if we could just get a few of the lessons down, that I think it'll carry a long way in your social life. Okay, and quick caveat here, there's a difference between difficult and abusive. Yeah, if someone's being abusive, this doesn't count, this doesn't matter for them. We can't tolerate any form of abuse at all. We immediately go get help, we get away, we're safe, we get where we're safe, and then we make our big decisions. So if we're moving into just the our typical difficult personality, right. Let's talk about some of these life lessons that we have here. When you're dealing with a really difficult person, you will notice that they are so childish. They are so immature. They are just ridiculously immature. And so the worst thing that you can be is immature with an immature person. Which is hard, right? Because totally hard. The natural person is just an emotional reaction. Don't mess with me. And you made me mad, so I should treat you bad. But so the problem is we want to let go. So the lesson we need to learn is to let go of our childlike behavior. We think we're mad at them because they are so immature, but what we're mad at is that they're so immature and they turn us into a 5-year-old fighting in an immature way and becoming someone we don't like. So if you really want to find peace with someone that's difficult, don't be a child. You have to be the grown-up. Remember, we always talk about never follow the lead of the most relationally challenged person. Never follow their lead. It seems obvious, but a lot of us don't get it. So I want us to start to recognize if he's being childish, then I need to grow up. And I need to start recognizing what are the triggers that cause me to chase this child and to turn into a little 5-year-old fighting over an ice cream cone. It is funny because you point out that in us becoming very childlike and doing, following the lead of the most childlike person. That's right. Which is so frustrating. So frustrating. We tend to become defensive. Oh yeah. And that is such an ugly thing. Oh yeah. Being defensive is so ugly. And it's especially not what you want. You're not a defensive person. So one of the rules is instead of getting defensive about the differences, just get curious. And this is such a great trick to deal with somebody that's really difficult and weird. So when they say something offensive like, oh, green? Ah, yuck. When they say something that's that rude about what you're wearing, you, instead of like fighting, like, what the? And go off on them, get curious. Which is exactly what I would do. Well, all of us would, right? But get curious into what do you mean? What do you mean yuck? Oh, well, whenever I promise you, there's a story behind the green, and if you can get them telling their story, it gives you more information. So instead of running away, instead of fighting them and shutting it down, instead of rolling your eyes and thinking they're an idiot, if you're dealing with someone that's difficult, you need as much information as you can get. And the only way to get more information is to not assume you understood a bit of what they just said, but to get curious. What do you mean by that? Why would you feel a need to say that to me? So 2 key points there. No assumptions, right? No assumptions. This is something I learned recently. And by the way, that's important. Do not ever assume. Because these people aren't necessarily normal relationally, so don't assume they're going to be normal relationally. They're different, and so different people teach us a lot. So yeah, don't assume they're normal. And it is interesting, and the question asking. That's a great tip. It's beautiful. It puts them in the spotlight instead and takes it off. And you know what's cool about putting them in the spotlight is now you're actually more in control. Because I've turned the questioning, I'm now the questioner, and now you have to answer. So now I can start to lead this challenged person using questions and curiosity about what they're saying. Does that make sense?
So interesting.
Pretty basic, huh?
Yeah. And so why are we so eager to kind of one-up each other when it comes to these?
It's human nature, I think. In human nature, and we've all had friends that we tell a story and they one-up us.
Always.
And we tell another story and they one-up us. So, and part of that's, I think, just we're trying to socially pit ourselves against each other to gain position in the conversation or in the social hierarchy. The problem with it is, if you're doing it with somebody that is a jerk or is relationally challenged, you're going to lose either way you look at it. So what I would try to do is instead allow some of your stories to actually go untold. Because there's a lot of times you have stuff you could say, but it doesn't matter to the person that won't receive it. It doesn't matter to the person that doesn't get it. It doesn't matter. So we might want to self-censor a little bit of our storytelling or competing with this person. And if all of a sudden, instead of me trying to compete with their story, I'm just going to listen to their story. And I might even, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, tell me more about that. And ask them to just give me more information instead of throwing my pearls, my stories, to somebody that doesn't get it. Then you're not going to be half as offended because you didn't just tell something that was personal and important to somebody that can't handle it, but instead let them talk more, get more information from them. And the more information you have, usually your heart is going to soften, because there's the story behind the story, and you'll start to see their insecurities. You'll start to see their weaknesses. You'll start to see where they're not whole. They're not healthy. And if you can see that by understanding and listening more, it gives you a ton of power.
It does. It goes back to what you said before, that these people may not be relationally healthy.
They're not.
And so maybe not dealing with them in a way that you might assume other people would be able to handle.
And allow them to give you, they'll basically show you that. If you give them enough information or enough chance to talk, they'll show you they're struggling.
So why do we let some of these people get to us? I mean, you know, we talk about being childlike and being defensive and these kind of ugly qualities that we all have to some degree that we want to kind of push back. Why do we let people get to us? Why do they get to us?
I think part of it is because it's kind of an autopilot that we go into that's a self-preservation. And the minute I feel unloved, uncared for, the minute you're trying to suggest that I don't know what I'm doing, it puts me in a very base mind that I have, my natural mind, into a very fight or flight mode. And when I'm starting to just go into fight or flight with you, my job usually, my desire is to keep digging holes and find holes that I can bury you in. But the funny thing about it is, does that make sense?
Sounding a little
normal to you, right? But the funny thing is instead of me spending time to try to bury this challenged relationship person, wouldn't it make more sense that I actually start to uncover my own insecurity? Like, why does him bringing up the color of my dress bother me so much? Why am I so insecure that I would allow one person to do that? Because if I would just uncover my hidden fears and insecurities instead of ignoring him and burying his, I actually could deal with mine. And this really difficult person could make me stronger. Why is it that every time your mom makes a comment about your mothering, does it irritate you? And instead of burying your mom as not getting it and clueless, get in and figure out, why am I so insecure about my own parenting and my own skills as a mom? And then see if you can't fix some of those. That actually changes you instead of trying to change you by burying someone else. It's just, it's a facade. It's a mirage.
It's so interesting.
Work on the real thing.
You use this as an opportunity for self-reflection.
Yeah.
I think that's an awesome point. Where can people find out more?
Go to matttownsend.com. We got a really cool thing where we just did we did a big class on anxiety, and it was huge. We had a huge turnout, and now people can go online and actually sign up for the class online and watch it online, and we're giving discounts till the end of the month.
Oh, perfect.
So just go to matttownsend.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt.
Emily.
Always great to see you.